Welcome to this Burn City Suns Talk post-game show. I'm Damian Adams here with Brendan Mau, coming to you after the Suns impressively defeat the Los Angeles Lakers 123 to 100 in their final preseason game. And this game was impressive from a lot of different points. So we're going to go backwards to forward here and start with the second half. What are your impressions of the Suns in the second half of this game, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, we're so used to seeing them, especially with their stars out, dominating the first half. Well, tonight it was completely opposite. I mean, in the second half, everything was clicking for them because of their defense. Their defense really started it all. I think Josh Okogie in that second half showed why he can be the Suns' fifth starter, just because. I mean, you see it here. He was doing it on all facets of the game. I was really impressed with his playmaking, though. The fact that he was finding guys rolling to the rim after he would get like a steal or just come up on the fast break. I was really impressed with how he ran the fast break specifically and how he was getting everyone involved. And then Nassir Little and I think Grayson Allen were in the game then too. And they both all there was another player too. All four of them played really good defense just to start that second half with the Lakers keeping their starters in and then the Suns going to their bench or I mean not their star players except for Nurkic was in there and Okogie out of their regular starting lineup. But I think they did a really good job against the Lakers starters there in the second half to start it out.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree with you there. When I saw them come out in the second half and I saw no Kevin Durant, I was like, oh, the Lakers are about to pull away. And it definitely was the opposite. They were out there, like you said, clawing on defense, doing what they had to do. And speaking of playmaking, you mentioned that with Okogie. The person I was most impressed with when it came to their playmaking today was Drew Eubanks. Drew Eubanks had so many assists in this game, 6 assists, and there was so many on backdoor cuts where he had the ball at what you would call a high post or the elbow and was able to see the Lakers overplaying. And you also have to give credit to the opposite players who are cutting for Drew Eubanks to have those nice bounce passes to go backdoor. So he did a great job in all facets of this game. You saw him steal the ball, block shots, play defense on the perimeter and at the rim, while also being a great playmaker from that high post position, which is so valuable with a team that has so many shooters because you have to play close. And that's what you saw. Defenders playing close and they were playing too hard. And when they play too hard or overcover you, you cut back door, get an easy layup, and Drew Eubanks made the pass over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely my player of the game. I think he started it in that first half, just showing on defense. He came in. Nurkic was really struggling in this game, but he came in and looked like a completely different player at that center position on both sides of the ball. I mean, you touched on his playmaking, but he was a force underneath the rim too. He was finishing. You saw in that fourth quarter. I think it was the fourth quarter
Oh, the
when he
dunk,
had
yeah.
that nasty dunk over Roy, which was I think the player of the preseason for the Suns by far. I don't think any other of their other highlights compare to that. So yeah, he was definitely a bright spot for the Suns tonight, and I think that's just a testament to how hard he works. I mean, you saw it last game when he started as well, just how hard he works for everything and how much effort he gives. I think that's why he embodies Frank Vogel's system so well because of his play.
No, for sure. And you've talked about it before where you mentioned that in certain matchups, he should be the starter over Nurkic in certain matchups. And I do believe that because of his versatility on defense. With Nurkic, you can't switch everything, right? With Nurkic, you have to play either a drop or have him hedge and try to get back. But you can't just switch because teams are going to try to take advantage of that and try to create mismatches against him. With Eubanks in there, teams aren't going to try to search out Eubanks for mismatches because he can handle his own out there on the perimeter as well as get back to the rim and block shots. His athletic ability definitely separates him in that center matchup. And I think that against certain teams, especially a team that's athletic like the Lakers with Anthony Davis at the five sometimes or Jackson Hayes at times at the five, two very athletic guys, and Christian Wood also. With teams like that, Drew Eubanks is the better person to play in those matchups because he can stay with those athletic fives, unlike Nurkic.
Yeah, and here's Nurkic's stats for tonight. I mean, 1 of 11. I think he started out like 0 of 7 or 0 of 8, and he had 5 fouls as well. I mean, Anthony Davis just really got the better of him tonight, And I think me and you talked about this during the game. Just the fact that Anthony Davis was on him and that he had none of the stars around him. I mean, he had KD for I think the first quarter was the only time that him and KD were really on the floor together. But when Nurkic didn't have those guys around him, he just looked lost out there offensively. So I think he needs one of those guys, which he will have in the regular season, to really elevate his game because his playmaking is what separates him. I mean, I really liked from what I saw tonight is he brought the ball up several times after getting a rebound, and he used his strength well too on screens and on box outs. So I think those are some positives of his games. But I mean, you can just see the stats don't look good at all, except for the rebounds there. So there's a lot of improvement areas for Nurkic after this game.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to those teams who have athletic fives or athletic big men, he may struggle there. So when it comes to him being out there, he has to assert himself on the offensive end to make them work. And he tried to do that today. Even in that third quarter where all the other Suns seem to be doing so well, he tried to be aggressive and was 1 for 5 in that quarter. So it just didn't work out for him tonight. Maybe it just was a bad night, but you do have to look out for that when it comes to playing against teams who either run small or have athletic big men.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you could see by this comment right here that, I mean, it's evident in this preseason he's going to do well with those guys around him. And I think that really stems from him having Damian Lillard in Portland, just that spacing. He's used to that spacing, and that's what the Suns' big three brings. So I think, especially with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal not out there tonight, it was a tough game for him.
Yeah.
But just moving forward, I mean, the talk of this game without Booker and Durant was the fact that without Booker and Beal, was the fact that we would have Durant versus LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And KD did not get off to a good start at all tonight. I think he missed his first 6 shots, but then he made his next 8 and ended with 21 points. So overall, here are his stats tonight. How would you assess his performance tonight?
KD is just someone who can adjust to anything, right? You had Torian Prince playing very very physical defense with him, and stripping at the ball every chance he got. He picked up some early fouls, but also got some early steals off of Kevin Durant, and was able to bother him early. But then KD adjusted, and once he's in a rhythm, you can't really stop him. That one 3-pointer he hit where he like literally just turned around and was like, all right, I can shoot this three from here, and I'll just do that now. He has the ability, because of his height and because of the way he can separate with his handle, to shoot from anywhere. And it's funny because he does what the defense wants you to do, right? When I say that, defenses want you to shoot contested mid-range jumpers. That's the quote-unquote worst shot in basketball. But KD can shoot those at such a great clip that it doesn't matter. And even with someone like Torian Prince just all up in his grill, it didn't matter. He still was just rising up and shooting it. And even when the Lakers were switching their defense, there were times where in that first half, they switched up when he got the ball into like a zone where they were all paying attention to him. And I feel like that's kind of telling of what we're going to see in the regular season when the lineup goes to just KD or just Bill or just Booker in the game. You're going to see teams start to get that little zone look where everybody's focused on that one player and ignoring the rest, kind of. So that was kind of interesting to see in that first half when they did that. And you saw that it bothered him. That's why the first quarter was so ugly for both teams, honestly. But for the Suns, it was ugly because of that type of defense and the pressure that the Lakers were bringing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was kind of weird how the Lakers came out. I mean, you told me they literally were playing like it was a regular season game. It didn't make
Yeah.
any sense. They were trying so hard on defense, and it looked like they were trying so hard that they couldn't do anything on offense. It was just an ugly game by the Lakers. I think they made it an ugly game, and the Suns were just like, what are you guys doing?" And then when the Suns eventually found their groove, I mean, you saw them start to get rolling, and then the Lakers came back a little bit, took a halftime lead, but once the Suns got settled in the game, and that's when the game really turned around.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just going on this comment, I mean, I think Metu. I don't know if you agree with me here. Metu I think he's played himself ahead of Keita Bates Diop in the rotation. Just because of the way he's been shooting the ball, I think that was his biggest question mark was how could he shoot the ball? How can he affect the game? Because he didn't have that great of shooting numbers last year with Sacramento, but he came in. I think he made his first three threes in a row. So I think Metu all preseason has played himself ahead of Keita Bates Diop, who I thought was going to be the Suns' fifth starter. And that's not to say Keita Bates Diop has been bad. Metu has just been really good.
Yeah, I've been surprised by the lack of play that we've seen from Base Diop, and also just his seemed like just non-impact on the court at times. He's somebody who last year shot the three very well, 39%. We all know what he can do on defense with that incredible length that he has, and we just haven't seen it this preseason. There's been a couple of players where we just haven't seen them really have a good impact. Him, to even a lesser extent of impact, Bol, even though he's a fan favorite, he hasn't had a real impact at all in the preseason. So I do agree that Metu has really played himself into a role as far as somebody who could be in the rotation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think all those guys, I mean, their wing to make it out of that wing group is impressive with all the wings that they have. I mean, they have a Kogi. I mean, you could say that Allen's a wing, but they have Yuta too, who's been really good. I mean, you saw
Yeah.
him these stats tonight. I mean, his shot just looks. We've said it all throughout the preseason of how good his shot looks, especially when he's next to the Suns' big three. And then another guy that really stepped up tonight, which they also got in the Portland trade. So you had two former Trailblazers really step up tonight, which were not the guys you were kind of thinking of. Eubanks and then Nassir Little. You could see him here tonight. I think he started 4 of 4 from the floor, maybe 5 of 5. I can't remember correctly, but yeah, you just see his stats there. I mean, he was doing it in all aspects of the game. I mean, you saw him pick up LeBron, and I think this is why it was most impressive is because he wasn't having like that great of a preseason. I mean, he wasn't doing much, even though he was in the starting lineup. I think it was last game, right, when he was in the starting
Yeah.
lineup. Yeah, so and you didn't even notice him on the floor, but tonight, I mean, he made his presence felt. So I think that was a big step in the right direction there for Nassir Little.
Yeah, and I like that he shot the ball with confidence. There was a catch and three shot that really stood out where he caught it, and the defender came short on the closeout to be like, okay, you can shoot this ball if you want to. I'm just not gonna let you drive. He didn't hesitate, pulled the shot and made it, and that's something that will separate him going forward because we all know he can play defense. If he can hit that three consistently with confidence, that will get him more time on the floor.
Yeah, and I mean, just going on this comment right here about KBD. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like I'm really surprised about how much offense the role players are getting. I know you are too, Damien. Just
Yeah,
the freedom they have on offense. I mean, you see Grayson Allen just driving the hole every chance he gets. Eric Gordon. I mean, I expected those guys to just be shooters on this team, and I think that's kind of what KBD was expecting. But he's not being that aggressive on offense, which I think has hurt him, even though it's something he wasn't expecting. So it's kind of a tough deal for KBD because I mean he's doing everything that he can right, but he's just not taking that next step.
yeah, no, I totally agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, and then another guy once again that stood out tonight was Saben Lee. Um, Even though he didn't play much until the end of the game, he really carried the Suns for that later part of the second half. 17 points and 4 assists in 15 minutes is really good numbers. So him and Jordan Goodwin, I think, since Goodwin has started playing with the Suns after missing the first 2 games, have really stepped up in that point guard spot. I mean, you saw even Goodwin come in the game today, and that's when their offense and defense really picked it up after they struggled at the beginning of the game. Just because those two give them, I think they have the most confidence in them in terms of their ball handling outside of Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, who obviously didn't suit up tonight.
Yeah, no, they definitely played great, and they bring an energy, right? Especially Goodwin. Like he brings the energy of, okay, once I'm on the floor, we're gonna get going. Like we're gonna run, we're gonna play defense. I'm gonna make things happen. And when you have somebody on the floor like that, it energizes the rest of the team. So I definitely think that Goodwin earned his spot as far as being in the rotation. Saben Lee, maybe from time to time. But I think Goodwin, because of his defense, will earn more minutes, especially with a defensive coach like Frank Vogel.
Yeah, and you wrote an article on it going into this game about how tonight could determine who could be the Suns' fifth starter. And I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, but what did you think? I mean, me and you have said it's become a two-man battle between Grayson Allen and Josh Okogie tonight. So what did you think about that tonight?
I think that Okogie went ahead and defined it for himself, right? That he has this fifth spot. You mentioned how well he played in this game on both ends of the floor. Grayson Allen was cool, but he didn't have the best game tonight. So I think that Okogie really separated himself because of that. And you see here Grayson Allen with 5 turnovers. This is the second game in the preseason where you had 5 turnovers. And I think that's something that will stand out in a coach's mind that, oh, this player, when I put him in a position to make plays, has been turnover prone, where Kogi hasn't been. So I think that's going to be the separator. And don't get me wrong, Grayson Allen coming off the bench is crazy good for the Suns because he's somebody who has experience, 3 years being a full-time starter and 2 years being a full-time starter on teams that are expected to win. So I think that having him come off the bench along with Eric Gordon just shows you how deep this team is. And there's going to be times where he does start because of injuries, because of certain matchups. And like Frank Vogel said, you asked him the question a few days ago about that fifth starter spot. And he said it's not going to be something that is just in concrete. It's going to be something that is fluid, that moves throughout the season. So I think Okogie will start the year at that fifth spot, but we can see different lineups for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to me and you are going to go do a little bit of a series on this over the next few days about breaking down these position battles, who should get cut, who should be that fifth starter. We'll do a longer video on that, and then just the rotation in general. But I just want to pull up this comment here about Noel and who you think should. How do you think they should round? Do you think that Noel would be a good option there, or what do you think about this? He was waived by the Kings today.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know if this team's going to bring anybody else in because I think that you already have Goodwin, you have Saben Lee, Damian Lee. Of course, you hate that he's not here, but I don't think they need anybody to replace Damian Lee right now.
No, yeah, and I agree with you. I think they're gonna really try to bring Ish Wainwright back on a two-way. He just needs to clear waivers over the next 48 hours, and I think he will. I don't think anyone's dying to sign Ish Wainwright to a standard contract right now. I mean, no disrespect to him, but he hasn't had the chance to show what he's capable of in big minutes in the regular season or this preseason. Which I mean, Ish Wainwright was one of the players I was looking forward to watching this preseason, but unfortunately he's been injured. So I think the Suns really love him. And Vogel, he embodies what Vogel wants. So I think he's going to get that last two-way spot. Um, and then they have a decision to make about that who they're going to cut. I mean, I think Bobo and Keon Johnson have really Damian Lee kind of, but I can't see them getting rid of Damian Lee over either Bobo or Keon Johnson.
Yeah, man. Bobo is somebody who I definitely was wrong about coming into the year. Seems like he just doesn't have the confidence that he once had. The highlights we've seen of him with the handles and shooting the threes. He's hit a couple threes. You've had moments where the crowd went crazy because he hit a three here and there, but he just hasn't had the time, honestly. And maybe that's because what we're not seeing. When we go to practice, we don't see them actually practicing. We go there, afterwards to talk to them, and they're kind of finishing up. So we haven't seen what's going on during the hard time in practice. And maybe Bobo's just not showing up during that time. That's why he's not getting the time in the preseason games that we see. Even with the crowd yelling, "We want Bobo," he's only getting limited minutes in those games. So he could be on the chopping block.
Yeah, I wrote an article on that today. You could check it out, burncitysports.com. But, I mean, coming into this game, he was last on the team in minutes per game as well as points per game this preseason. So, and he also was fourth on the team in turnovers, even though he was playing the fewest minutes. I mean, you saw we talked about Frank Vogel's talked about that one behind the back pass he had. That was a really bad turnover. So I don't think he's been like super bad, and especially tonight, I think he played not bad at all.
Yeah.
I think everyone on the bench looked decent tonight, so I don't think there's anyone off the bench that looked super bad. I mean, we talked about some of their starters, but um, yeah. So it's going to be a tough decision, but they need to do it by the time. I think it's one day before their first regular season game next Tuesday. So the deadline is Monday at 2 o'clock Arizona time.
Oh, yeah, man, it's tough. Like I've said it before, I'm definitely not jealous of general managers and head coaches who have to make these decisions. And you definitely have a deep team here that has just a plethora of players who can play, who can earn minutes, who can be impactful on a championship team. So it's tough, but from what I've seen, man, looks like Bobo may be that guy who gets cut, and because of his potential that we've been talking about, he might get another shot. We've seen players like him who have that potential. There's one on the Lakers, Cam Reddish, has been for years the potential of Cam Reddish, and we just haven't seen it yet. But they keep getting chance after chance because someone's going to believe in that potential. And I think Bobo is one of those players that someone's going to believe in, and hopefully he finally fulfills it somewhere. It may not be in Phoenix though.
Yeah, and I think just watching tonight, I think with Keon Johnson, the Suns just don't know what role he's going to be. I mean,
Yeah.
he's 21 years old and he's 6'3" and he doesn't take the ball up the court. Like, how are you 6'3" and you don't take the ball up the court? And like, it's just a confusing role that he has on this offense. And I don't know. I don't know if the Suns want to figure out what kind of role he has. They just might get rid of him. So
Yeah, if you're that height and you're not orchestrating the offense, you got to be a knockdown shooter, which he's not that yet. Very athletic. They talked about how he had a 40-inch vertical at the combine, which is the record. But we're not seeing him drive the ball enough to see that impressive vertical. So he just hasn't been able to really show what he can do. Uh, I believe in his talent, but you got to be able to knock the shot down. And if you're going to be a defender, if that's going to be your main job, you got to be a lockdown, impressive defender like Josh Okogie, like Goodwin to really stand out.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, like you said, like this team is built around defense, and I think Keon's not doing a bad job. Um, I want to talk about this comment. I'm pretty sure that the G League team is coming, not this year but next year. So that's why there hasn't been any word on it. I'm pretty sure 2024-25 is when they want the G League team to come. I think that's their goal. So I know it would be. I've always wanted a G League team here in the Valley just because of guys like Ish, Bull. Uh, I mean Saben Lee, just because you could see them get more reps rather than the few minutes that they play on the NBA court. But yeah, that'll be exciting when it finally comes, and it sure would be nice to have it this year.
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
know why it took so long, but I'm glad that they're bringing it back and it's coming to Phoenix as well. So that'll be exciting for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely would love to see a G League team here. I think like watching sometimes every once in a while, be on ESPN Plus and I'll watch some G League games. There's some really good players in the G League who get to show off, what they can do. And sometimes you'll see them in the league. You see somebody like a Kenny Lofton Jr. for the Grizzlies who was balled out in the G League and then dropped 41 points in his debut, something crazy like that. So you'll have some hidden gems in the G League you get to see, and hopefully we'll get to see them here locally soon.
Yeah, and I think that's for guys like Ish. That's where they really start to find themselves. Defensive guys like that's where Alex Caruso really developed himself. So I think when you're a defensive guy with, especially the way that Ish is built, I think he could dominate in the G League. Just because when you go from the NBA to the G League, I mean, there's not that much of a drop off in talent, but there definitely is a little bit.
Oh, for sure, because the NBA has the best of the best. So in the G League, you're going to get some of those players who are going to be great. There's all the stories about guys like Chris Middleton, who was in the G League, and people like that who eventually got to the NBA, and some even became all stars. But the NBA is where you're going to have that best of the best every night. But the G League is right there as far as one of the best leagues in the world. So you're going to get good work. And like you said, for players like that who can develop, who are NBA talents, but just need that extra little bit of oomph in their game, the G League is where they can find that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think that's all. I mean, I think we can wrap it up, but I just want to go back to the standouts from tonight. I think one guy we did mention Chimezi, but I think Nassir Little and Drew Eubanks were two of the guys that caught my eyes the most, just because of the way that they were impacting the game on both ends and how hard they were playing. I mean, we saw it from Drew before, but we hadn't seen it from Nassir. So I think those two guys really just just caught my eyes the most tonight. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Outside of Kevin Durant going crazy in the
yeah,
second quarter, those two guys really stood out. And I love the passing again from Drew Eubanks, like having somebody like that, because Nurkic is a good passer as well. Don't get me wrong, but if Eubanks is passing the ball just as well as Nurkic, along with what he does defensively and athletically, as far as being able to, be that crasher to the rim, like the way he can be. Also, you saw it with the Lakers in the start of the second quarter. They were running a lot of pick and rolls with Jackson Hayes, and Jackson Hayes, just because he's so athletic, was able to crash to the rim, and it caused so much havoc on the defense when you have somebody like that. And Eubanks could do the same thing for the Suns.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean Jackson Hayes is a weird player just because of how teams really just use him for his athleticism. But I think Eubanks is more than that, especially with his passing ability. And I think
Oh yeah, for sure.
him playing behind Nurkic the past 2 seasons has really helped him know how to. Because I think Nurkic has the same role, pretty much the same role on the Suns that he did on the Blazers. So it's easy for Eubanks to come in, and also he fits in really well with Vogel's system. So it's like a win-win situation for Eubanks, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
So, uh, is there anything else you want to add?
Nah, man, I think we covered it all, man. I'm just excited that this was the last preseason game. The next time we come to you guys, well, not the next time, but the next time we come to you guys with a game recap, it will be after a regular season real game. I'm so excited. I'm so hyped. I can't wait for Tuesday night. And we get two good games. We get to preview also the team that we're going to play after this game, because the Lakers are playing in the game right before. So get to get a little bit of a scouting report on the preview on that team right before our game. So I'm really hyped for that. But make sure you check out burnseasports.com. So many great writers who not cover just the Suns, but the Cardinals, Suns, Coyotes, Diamondbacks, Phoenix Rising, everything Arizona State. This is going to be, just so much coming to the site, especially with the Suns regular season starting. So make sure you follow Burn City Sports on all social media platforms, and make sure you follow us on YouTube at Burn City Sports so you can catch not only the shorts that we do in the recaps, but also the Burn City Suns Talk podcast, which will come to you each and every week as well. And make sure you follow us on social media. You see the social medias right there. We're good follows as well, so check us out. And until next time, peace.